Bear with us 1 second while we scrape the note takers out of the way. I got one more. The bots are taking over. All right. That is all the note takers, and it is 10 a.m. on the East Coast. Welcome, everybody. I'm gonna host just so that you guys have a pretty face and a Hawaiian shirt to look at, but really I'm not gonna do much. I'm gonna sit in the background. This is part 2 of the awesome Laura Dahl breaking down how to run your business. So I'm just gonna kind of hand it over to her, let her run the show. I'll watch the chat, so if there are questions that pop up, we can answer those first when we get to the Q&A, but otherwise, welcome. You guys all know the rules by now, right? Don't be distracted. Cameras on. I see a lot of cameras off. Unless you are driving naked or driving naked, your camera should be on. We want to see your smiling faces. That is my only caveat. If you are driving naked, you should probably leave your camera off. Otherwise, we want to see your smiling faces. Put your phones face down away from you on mute. No distractions for the next 45 minutes or so. And we will kick this party off. Laura, the show is yours, my friend.
All right. Before I get into the slideshow real quick, thank you so much again for having me. Well, I really appreciate that. The big thing I want to catch you guys up is if in case you missed the first session, just kind of want to map out where we are and what we're working on. And then I wanted to make sure too, are you going to drop the link for the workbook, or do you want me to drop that in the chat again? I just want to make sure
If you
everybody
can
has
drop
that.
that whenever you're ready for it, that would be great.
Yep. You
Yep.
got it. Give me just 1 second though to find it real quick on my.
And I see Joanne just mentioned in the comments about the workbook. She said it's done so nicely. Thank you for that.
Oh, absolutely. I took a lot of heat for that workbook, let me tell you. I got a lot of complaints about how thick it was and how many pages it was and how many trees I killed. And
That's
I'm
because
just
agents are afraid of work, and a workbook more than one page means they got to do some work.
I'm just here to tell you that if I had had that book 25 years ago, nothing could have stopped me. I'm just telling you. But hey, do with it what you will. Let me bear with me, y'all. Um, stand by. Well, you can entertain the crew for a minute while
Yeah,
I
no worries.
grab this for you. I'm so sorry.
No problem at all. Give us 1 second. I should have had that ready. That's on me. I should have had the link to
No,
the
I was too busy
stand by,
asking you
ready to
about
drop.
Florida. Yeah.
It's just so cold in Florida that my brain wasn't functioning properly, and
Oh,
I
you don't
pushed.
even know what cold is right now,
I'll
actually.
tell you what. So, not to get distracted here as we start. So the workbook is in the chat for anyone who wants to grab that. I'm leaving to go up to Michigan at the end of the month for a real estate event, and I was looking at the weather there the other day. It was 23 degrees here in Florida, and it was 21 degrees in Michigan, and I went, "Wait a minute here. Florida doesn't get Michigan weather. This is not right." So I'm going to go back to there, and then Michigan's supposed to be like 10 or 15 degrees on the day that I'm there. So I'm hoping we get some snow. I'll post it on social. I will make a snow angel with my Hawaiian shirt on if I get some
I
snow. I'll be fine with that.
I really
Anywho, all
hope
right,
you do,
back to the fun and
actually.
excitement here.
All right, let me share my screen now that I'm back. Thank you for putting the link there, y'all. I'm so sorry. Let's get back here. Okay, rock and roll. We'll get back to this slideshow in a second. I just want to make sure that you guys have the workbook number one. I did spend a lot of time putting this together. This is a very comprehensive plan. Again, when I teach business planning, we're planning for everything that could come up in our life. Remember, everything that shows up in your home shows up in your business, right? So when your environment at home is a mess, when your finances are a mess, when your mental health is a mess, when you're not taking care of yourself and that is not right, it shows up in your business. And so when I do business planning, it is a full, all out plan that covers everything that could possibly come up. It addresses a lot of speed bumps and roadblocks. I wanted you guys to have the workbook, and let's just talk about what we covered in the first session. Was we really had a vision for what we wanted our business to look like. We could close our eyes on a perfect day and we could see exactly what we wanted our business to look like. We could see the ideal clients that we wanted to work with. We could see how we interacted with them. We could see what the client experience was going to look like from start to finish. Like we already knew exactly how our business unfold, and we can visualize that. And I'm a big believer in, you've got to see it to believe it. You have to know that you can achieve that. You have to be able to have that vision first before you can start moving towards that vision. And so we talked a little bit about, in a perfect world, who would you serve? You know, who is your target client? And for most agents, they're trying to serve everyone. And your message is actually heard by no one. And so we're trying to get some clarity around who you serve, you trying to identify what makes you unique, what your special sauce is, how you tick, and then applying that to your business to make sure that the messaging you're putting out is meant to attract the person that you want to work with. I see all the time agents that tell me, oh, I want to specialize in luxury listings, or I want to get into luxury. And then the messaging they're putting out on Facebook, there are all these programs for first-time homebuyers. That's a mismatch. That's a disconnect. Your audience is confused. So if your audience is confused and you clearly are confused, we have a lack of clarity, which means you're going to spin your wheels in a lot of directions. You're going to feel exhausted. You're going to feel like you're doing all the things that you've been taught to do, that you've been trained to do, that these people have poured into you and told you to do, and you're not going to have the results that you're wanting. So I'm really asking you to get crystal clear on who you serve. Get to know them on a real granular level. What do they Google at 3 a.m.? What are they asking their friends for advice for? What kinds of questions are they asking? What do they fear? What are they worried about? What are their concerns? When you start getting really granular and really getting into the mindset of the person that you're trying to work with, you now know more about how they tick, and you can put yourself in front of those people, right? When you know who you're looking for, I can give you 1,000 strategies of how to get in front of them. But when you have no clue who you want to serve, you are trying to be a master or servant to everyone, and that's just not going to work for you. It's not going to produce the results you want. And I know Walt is shaking his head because he knows what I'm saying is true. Anybody that's been in this business for any amount of time is going to tell you you've got to have some clarity. So
if you don't have a target, you will miss it every time.
Every time. Well, where are you aiming for? Nothing.
Yep.
So we did cover kind of my why. We talked about, why are you doing this? Why did you get in this business? And I know for some of us, we question the why about 3 times a week sometimes. Like, we need constant reminders, especially when the market is tough, when our clients are more difficult, when your buyers are pickier than they've ever been. You really need to get down to your why. Like, why am I even in this career? We had that vision. We talked about our ideal client. We actually asked you to define what your value is. Can you answer? If I were interviewing you and I said, why should I hire you? Can you answer that question? Can you articulate to someone and explain what your unique value is? Most agents cannot do that. Most agents cannot sit at that table and say, this is the value that I bring to the table, unless there's someone who's been in this business 15, 16 years, has really gotten good at their presentation. They've done this presentation 1,000 times. They know what their value is. But when you're just getting started, or maybe you don't have the confidence that Walt and I have, you've got to come up with those words. You've got to practice it. You've got to get very good at explaining to people why they should hire you. You have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. If you are not good at the paperwork, we don't care. We've got a solution for that, right? That's not what is going to take for you to have success in this business. You got to talk to people, period. You got to get out from behind this computer and stop playing on Canva and go have conversations with people. You got to pick up the phone and check in with your people and talk to them. If you want to move from transactional to relational, you've got to invest some time in doing things differently and get out from behind the computer, period. Now, there are a lot of people that make a lot of money in this business sitting behind a computer, on a dialer, whatever they're doing. But I will tell you, that is a small percentage of agents. Most agents find success in this business through the relationships that they build. And those are either going to be built overnight or they're going to be built over time. But you still are going to invest time in people. And when you put people over profits, you're going to win every single time. Promise that. We are going to start today kind of in the numbers section. And I want to warn you, this is the most boring part of this whole workbook, is the numbers section. But you cannot get to where you're going if you don't have a real story, a real hard look, I gotta go back to the presentation. I'm sorry, y'all. If you do not have a real, could you send me that public link again? I'm so sorry. Maybe this is it. This is it. Here we go. All right. You get what you pay for around here, so forgive me. All right. We are going to be doing the numbers thing, but one of the things I'll tell you, it's my least favorite part of this whole business planning thing is really taking a hard look at the numbers. I don't like looking at the numbers a lot of times, and especially this past year, I didn't like looking at the numbers because in my 25-year career, the numbers were not what I wanted. They're not the best numbers I've ever seen in my career. They were actually among some of the worst that I've had. And that is because I lived in a place where we had a Category 5 hurricane. We were displaced for 63 days. Life happened to me in 2025. And life is going to happen to you too. It may not happen today, but it may come in March. It may come in August. We have had agents who suffered strokes who still maintain their business. We've had people that had a death in their family that, there's life is going to show up, y'all. And you have got to make sure that you are running your business in a way that you can still make progress in your business regardless of how life shows up, so that you can be proud of the numbers that you put up. You can still support your family. You can still put your kids in daycare or private school or whatever it is that you're doing to fund your life. We cannot figure out where we're going, though, until we figure out where we've been. And so I want to pause for a second and say, if you are a brand new agent, I'm going to give you some guidance. If you are newer, let's say you didn't have very many sales last year, so the numbers are not going to be real telling to you. We're going to work our way around that. Don't panic. This is still for you because you still need to shoot for certain numbers. You still need to have goals and metrics to measure your actions by. You still need to have a hard look at the numbers so that you can measure your progress. One of the things that I will say about this business is that you do not see evidence of what we're doing as working sometimes for 30 or 60, 90 days. We live in a society where you guys expect instant gratification and instant results. And I want to know that the thing I'm doing today is going to lead me to a paycheck tomorrow. And we don't always have evidence that that's true, right? We're trying different tactics. We're trying different strategies. And we don't always know that what we're trying is going to be effective for us. But I am here to tell you, people like Walt and I have been doing this long enough to know that the proof is in the pudding. It is proven strategies that we know works. When you have conversations with people, you produce opportunities. Opportunities turn into appointments, and appointments turn into checks. But if you are not producing opportunities and you're not going on appointments, you're not even on the sales cycle, which means you are farther away from a paycheck. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to focus on high value activities that lead to a paycheck. We want to know where your business actually is going to come from. Let me know in the chat if this is one of your concerns for this year in 2026. Drop in the chat. Do you know where your business is going to come from this year? Any clue? Okay, driving I get. Thank you for the compliment on the workbook. Let me get down here. All right, I'm just starting, so this is my concern. Joanne, I got you. We're gonna plan all this out. I'm gonna help you with that. Don't worry. Consistency. Lynn says referrals. All her business is coming from referrals. I love that. We just did an agent mastermind on referral mastery. So if you didn't catch that, let me know. I can give you guys the link later. It's on my YouTube channel where we talked all about how to build a referral business. I love Walt said consistent discipline action equals money. We are in an industry where, and Walt knows exactly where his business is coming from because he operates his business like a CEO. He operates his business with a fine-tuned plan. This is not a hobby. This is a business, and you are the CEO of your business. So the success of your business is going to be dependent on you knowing where your customers are coming from. If you owned a shoe store, you would know exactly who buys your shoes. If you owned a cupcake shop, you would know exactly who comes in to buy your cupcakes. The fat lady, right? The skinny white girls that just left the gym, they want the cupcakes, right? But you're going to know exactly who buys your product. The same thing is with this industry. You're going to need to know exactly who you are for and who is your customer, where your business is going to come from. We're going to get into that. I'm an investor, not an agent. That's okay. You still are going to have metrics and a business plan for your business too. And I love that you said that, because I want to point out too that it doesn't matter what lane of business you guys are in. I'm closing the chat because somebody else is going to have to monitor that. But it does not matter what lane you're in. Your license is a license to print money. It is a credential to print money. You can make money in this business in 1,000 different ways. You just have to figure out which lane is for you, right? You have to figure out where your business is going to come from, and it's not going to be the same as everybody else. Y'all are already here. I'm going to skip some of this stuff because we're past this at this point. Yep. We know that things need to change. We know that your past performance is going to dictate what's going to happen in the future unless you pivot, throw a match on it and blow it up and start all over. What you did in the past is going to determine what you're going to do in the future and whether or not that works. You are going to set some clear, measurable goals. They have to be measurable, y'all. You can't just say, hey, I want to be the top agent in my market. What does that mean? Is there a volume that's attached to that? Is there a number that's attached to that? Or maybe your metrics are slightly different. And I want to make sure I say this for some agents, because everyone's race is not the same. Not everybody wants to be Walt. Okay? They should, but not everybody does. They all want to have Walt's money, but not everybody wants to be him. Maybe some people are not willing to do the work that Walt's willing to do, right? In order for me to produce $25 million in a year, I've got to work a certain number of hours. And for some people, that's not okay. For some people, that's not worth the sacrifice. For some people, they still have obligations to small kids or a caretaker role or to themselves in another job. Your race is not everybody else's race. And so what I want you to understand is stop comparing yourself to everybody else and beating yourself up because you're not producing the amount that everybody else is. You're running your race at your pace with your skills, and that is for you. Only you are in charge or responsible for growing that or shrinking that based on your needs of your life and your business. So your race and my race are not the same. So whoever's metrics you are measuring yourself by, unless they are your own, forget about it. They're not for you. Run your race with your people. And I want you to understand it's not about hustling harder. It is really about designing your business that fits your life. Every one of us that's in leadership will tell you the reason we, and most of us learned this the hard way. I will tell you, I did. I woke up and my kids were 24 and 21. I thought I was working so hard to provide them a life. I was teaching them like hard work skills, that if you work hard, it produces in. My kids are not driven like me. They're not, I don't even know where they came from. The stork dropped them on my porch or something. They do not have the drive that I have. Okay. They're not interested in money. They're not driven by money. And some of us are in this business for intrinsic reasons. We want to help people. Yes, we want to make money, but we don't have the goals of making $500,000 a year. Maybe we want to provide a decent income, but we still want to be present with our kids. We still want to be present with our spouse. It is not fair that your clients get the best of you and your family gets the crumbs. So just keep that in mind. You get to design what your business looks like, and you get to determine what kind of investment you are making of yourself, your energy, and your money in your business to get the outcome that you are okay with. Only you get to decide that, okay? I do want you to look over the last 12 months. So if you are new, let me start with the experienced people. I want you to look over the last 12 months. I want you to take a deep dive into your numbers. Are you satisfied with your numbers from last year? Most people are not. Okay, the market was down, the interest rates were high, maybe people converted less, people lost a lot of listings that expired or withdrew and they did not sell. Most agents were not skilled in moving inventory or negotiating repairs because they'd never had to do it before. In the last 3 to 5 years, most agents have gotten incredible success because the market was fast, it was hot. A lot of agents were lucky, I'll say. Some people worked really hard, don't misunderstand me. But I will say that the market was favorable for success for a lot of agents for the last 3 to 5 years. In the last 2 years, that market has shifted in real time and things have slowed down. Things have taken longer to sell. They have been harder to convert. And so maybe you're not happy with the numbers that you had last year. I want you to look at that with an analytical lens and say, okay, is that different this year? Is the environment different this year? Are things improving? Interest rates are coming down. Every time those interest rates come down a little bit, you see a spike in the market, right? Maybe you shift your focus a little bit because now there's a lot of listings that were not successful. And you, if you work at Epic, you have a whole toolbox full of tools that are specifically geared towards listings, right? And how to show up and be the hero for a lot of these listings. So maybe that is your opportunity to pivot this year that's different than last year, right? But I want you to look at these numbers and say what worked and what didn't. All right, here's your chance to share with us as a group. Is there something, and you guys can unmute yourself if you'd like to, or drop it in the chat, but somebody tell me something that did not work for them last year that they are not sure they're going to keep doing. Anybody?
Quiet in the chat.
Always.
That's probably, I'll take a stab at it. That's probably because most people don't know what they did last year, and therefore they don't know what didn't work. Nothing worked because they didn't do it.
Good call. Good call. So for some of us, we
there
know
you go,
it didn't
Joanne.
work.
That's honesty right there. Joanne says doing nothing did not work.
I love that.
She has identified the core of the problem, and now she can put a plan in place to fix it. That's beautiful.
Love that. Love that. Faith, are you saying working your SOI didn't work for you? That's a very good one. So I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I love that. Now, what I will say is, again, you were taught or told or mentored by somebody to work your sphere of influence. That's pretty much what all of us were told when we got into the business. But I don't know that people were taught how to work their sphere of influence, how to best extract business from their sphere of influence. The other thing is your clients will become your friends faster than your friends will become clients. That's a true story right there. So I do think working your sphere for some people can be very lucrative. If you have determined that it wasn't for you, that's okay. I would ask you to go back to your question that we started with, which is, who is your target client? Who do you serve? Who do you relate best to? Who are your people? Because most of the people in your sphere probably are not that. So maybe there's a misconnect or disconnect between who you were trying to get business out of versus who you actually want to serve and who you best want to work with. So I would say go back to that and say, okay, if I'm going to go back to sphere and I'm going to invest time and energy in that, I want to make sure that the sphere I'm dragging from is my target client. Are they the people I want to work with? Love that you shared that. Thank you. Lisa said, too many platforms, too general and not specific. Amen, sister. Your message wasn't heard by a lot of people. And the platforms, let's be honest, is your target client on all of those platforms? They might be, but is that where they conduct business? Is that where they're looking for a realtor? Right? This is how I want you to put on the analytical glasses and say, where is my business? Where did it come from last year? And are those sources still relevant to me today to get business from? Did it work? Is there something I can tweak about what I did to have better success? For a lot of agents, like I said, they were told to do a strategy, but maybe they don't know the how of that strategy. They don't really have the ins and outs of what language to say or what to do to get business from it. It also could be a strategy that we've tried. Maybe Walt or I have told you about it, or somebody in leadership has told you about it, but maybe that strategy is just not for you. It's not your skill set, right? I've got kids that are on a dialer 6 or 8 hours a day. They used to be car salespeople, so they love it. They're used to it. That's their bread and butter. But that would not work for 90% of my coaching clients because that is not their skill set. They are not thick-skinned enough for that. So not every strategy is going to be for you, okay? But what I want you to think about is I want you just to evaluate where your business came from. Is it Nike, I think? They said, I'm building my SOI locally. I have lived this area for almost 8 years. I will tell you, I picked up my business and moved it 4 times to 4 different states, and I started over every single time. I built a sphere of influence from scratch, intentionally all 4 times. I've used Michael Mayer's memory jogger. You can Google Michael Mayer's memory jogger if you want to, and you can get that particular tool. I use that tool to create a sphere from scratch every single time I move. So for those of you that are brand new and are telling me I don't even have a sphere, you can create one from scratch. It takes intentionality. The Michael Mayer's memory jogger will help you do that. It tells you exactly who to go meet. It tells you what industries you might need to have people in your database for, right? All right, moving on. 2 things I'm changing this year: become hyper local to 2 areas and reducing meetings that are not money makers. Bonnie, you could take an appointment with a lender or somebody every single day, all day long, and never make any money because the things that are on your calendar are not in alignment with your sales cycle. So I love that you are paying attention to that. Again, I coach my coaching clients. You are looking for money now, money later, or admin, right? Like that's how you're looking at your day. And most of the things on your appointment, on your calendar, are they in line with where you make your money? Remember, you generate opportunities and you go on appointments. That's how you get on the sales cycle. All the other stuff that you're doing on Canva and playing around in Lofty and all the other things that you're doing, are they actually leading to a paycheck? So I want you to be very conscientious of that. I want you to build a realistic production plan. Now, some of you set out last year. Let's say last year you put out and you were like, I'm going to sell 52 houses this year when you hadn't even sold one yet, right? It doesn't mean it's not realistic, but I want you to build a plan that is going to set you up for success, right? What is realistic in your area? How many houses are selling in your market area that you're focusing on? And what price range are you specifically trying to sell in, right? What your target client is looking for. I want you to build a realistic plan that is specific to the goals that you have in your life and your target client, right? So don't put down that you're going to sell 50 houses if you're not willing to work more than 10 hours a week, right? That's not going to work. And then you're going to be upset at yourself that you didn't meet your goal, right? I am not a believer in beating yourself up in order to motivate you. That never works. It doesn't. Okay, that's not how you motivate yourself. You motivate yourself by celebrating the little wins. Every opportunity that you get, every conversation that turns into a maybe is a small win. And then you capitalize on those. But I want you to turn your awareness into concrete production goals. I want you to set income goals that make sense, that support your life and what you're trying to do. Are you trying to spend more time at home? Are you trying to spend more intimate time with certain people and less time being busy doing nothing, right? So I want you to choose numbers that stretch you, but still feel attainable, still feel possible. And then I want you to remove any pressure that's created by unrealistic expectations. If you have a goal to sell 50 houses and the reality is you probably will sell 5 to 7, then don't set yourself up for that. But are you capable of selling 50 houses? Absolutely. But what is it going to take for you to sell 50 houses? And are you willing to do what it takes to sell 50 houses? Be honest with yourself. I want you to define referral and lead sources. So this is also where I do things a little differently. And Walt may do it this way. I'm not sure. We haven't really talked about it. Instead of saying I want to sell 50 houses, I'm going to break down the 50 houses into where they're all going to come from. So maybe 4 are going to come from an open house. Maybe 3 are going to come from an event that I'm planning. 2 might come from a bourbon tasting group that I'm in, right? 4 might come from my sphere of influence, right? Are you seeing what I'm doing? Is I'm picking the strategies that I know I'm going to do throughout the year, and I'm assigning a number that how many transactions are going to come from that strategy. The reason I'm doing that is because if I have 4 set aside for open houses, then I know I have to do some open houses to get 4 deals, right? It's giving me an action plan just by breaking down that bigger number into smaller little groups of where they're going to come from, so that then I know how I'm going to do this. I have a plan. I'm going to identify where the business is actually going to come from. So, for example, let's say last year I did a supper club and I didn't get a single deal out of that supper club. I'm going to evaluate whether or not the supper club was worthwhile to me, right? Yes, it is worthwhile in terms of my lifestyle. I enjoy dinner with the people. Maybe I'm building relationships, but if those people are not referring business to me or I'm not getting business out of it, I'm going to question whether or not this is a strategy that's going to work for my business. Yeah, I like supper club, but at what cost do I want this to be a business strategy if it's not returning results? Okay. Those of you that are spending money on internet leads, I'm not here to tell you that don't do it, but I'm here to tell you I'm going to ask you to really evaluate the return on that investment, because chasing strangers is 8 times harder to convert than somebody you've actually talked to, someone you've met at a donut shop, at the fire station, at the library, at a coffee shop. 8 times harder to convert strangers. So if you've got so much time and so much money and so much energy, why would you spend it with strangers, right? That is a lower conversion rate. I'd rather see you spend it on your target client, getting in front of that target client, positioning yourself that that target client only hears about you, than to engage in chasing strangers at really high cost and low return. Okay? It's just my 2 cents. Do what you want. But I'm just telling you, that's not the highest and best use of my money. After 25 years, it's not where I spend a lot of my money, period. I don't even pay for a lot of the leads that I get and I generate for my team. They are self-originated and organic typically. I do want you to have an event strategy. And I don't know how many of you guys engage in events, but I am a big believer and coach that I prefer the one-to-many versus the one-to-one. I'm great one-to-one-on-one. You put a client in front of me, I'm going to have rapport with them. I'm going to have trust with them. We're going to get along. I'm likely going to be their best friend by the time we're done. Maybe I'm going to get an invitation to dinner. Who knows? But the reality is that I prefer events, because that allows me to position myself in front of more people. It gives me a reason to call people to invite them. It gives me a reason to thank them for coming, or I'm sorry I missed you, or inviting to the next event. The events do not have to be real estate related. As a matter of fact, they probably shouldn't be, because guess what? I hate to break this to you all, but real estate is boring to people who are not in real estate. It just is not sexy to a lot of people. And I know there's a lot of shows that have made it sexy and that people think that everyone's interested in real estate. But at a party, if you say I'm a realtor, you're going to watch people scatter like cockroaches, right? You got to find a different way of explaining what you do and how you do it that is interesting and builds curiosity. So for me, I tell people I help people build long-term wealth. Really, how do you do that? Through purchase and sale of real estate, right? I'm changing families' lives. I'm helping families build legacies. Like, I'm finding a different way to say what I do that is not just I'm a realtor. Because I'm a realtor, guess what? So is 387,000 other people. That's not sexy. That's not unique. That's not something special. So I want you to figure out, how can you tell people what you do that is not I'm a realtor or I'm in real estate. Find something else to say. I want you to think about what kinds of events. Remember, we're going back to who our target client is. If I know very well who my target client is, I know what kind of events they're going to want to go to, right? So if my target client is, let's say they're move-up buyers. So I like move-up buyers because they typically have a house to sell. So that's a sell and a buy typically, right? I typically know exactly what age range those people are in my market. I know how much they earn. I know what kind of cars they drive. I know where they go to church. I know what kind of restaurants they go to. I know if they drink bourbon or wine. I know if they have pets. I know if their kids are in certain activities. This is how granular I'm telling you to get, right? So if I know that this group of people is a move-up buyer, I know that they typically have kids that are somewhere between the age of maybe 3 to 4 up to maybe 12 or 13 typically is my sweet spot, right? So I'm going to plan events around the families that have kids or that have teens. I'm going to plan events around things that they're interested in. So I've done bourbon tasting. I've done cooking demonstrations. I've done all kinds of things that are in line with who my target client is. None of them have to do with real estate. I'm just creating a community of an event where my people can show up and I get to build rapport and trust, and I get to stand up and say what I do and how I do it. but I'm never going to stand up at an event and say I'm a realtor. I'll bet that. Okay. I want you to think about events being one of the most powerful ways to build connection and loyalty, right? At events, people are less guarded, right? Especially if the event has nothing to do with real estate, right? It is a place where they can relax a little bit. People do not like to be sold to. You don't like to be sold to, right? So think about what kinds of events you would go to on a Saturday. You only have 2 days off for most people, and I only have this much time free on a weekend, and you want me to come to an event. It's got to be something interesting. So what kind of event would they come to? What events also should be aligned with your energy and capacity and where you are in your season of life? So your events don't have to be 500 people deep. They can be 3 people deep. They can be 6 people deep. They can be 150. You also don't always have to be the host. You can piggyback on other people's events. You can participate in other people's events. You can help support other people's events, right? But the goal is, what are you doing to find new clients? That's the whole point of the strategy, is where are your clients going to come from? For me, I can identify events that are going to work with my target client. And I would much rather host an event that lends itself to my personality better than door knocking or cold calling or doing an open house or any other 50,000 strategies that you can think of. I would much rather have an event where people are having a good time. We're eating, there's music, maybe there's cocktails, maybe there's pets, right? Remember, your events can be all kinds of things. I want you to focus on connection at the events, not obligation. And then I want you to prioritize sustainability over volume. Can I pull off the event in the way that I want it to look? Can I make that event happen? Remember, you don't have to pay for events all yourself either. You could leverage your relationships to help get those covered so that you're not footing the bill for it all by yourself. But your goal is to get people to the event. That is your job. If you're going to plan an event and you're going to invest money in an event, your only job is to fill the event with the people that you want to show up. It takes work. You cannot just put an event on, put it on Facebook as an event and say, show up, and think that you're going to have the best event of your career and extract 10 deals. You've got to do the work that gets the people there. That is your job, is to fill the seat, just like an open house. I was hoping one of you was going to write open houses when I asked about a strategy that didn't work for you last year, because I love for people to complain about open houses. I love for people to say open houses don't work for me. I've tried them. I never get any business out of them. I love those people, because I'm going to say something different. Are you approachable when people come into your open house? Do you make people feel warm and invited? Are you pouncing on them like a salesperson, like they know you're going to do? Do they already feel like they don't want to give you their information because they know you're going to harass them for 18 days after the open house? Are you adding any value? Are you sitting on the couch with a book in your hand, or do you get up and greet people? I could go on and on and on. But my point is that how you do each one of these strategies is going to determine your success. All the strategies are one thing, but how you do the strategy is going to determine the business that you get out of it, how you show up, right? What is your goal? When you're planning these strategies, what do you want the outcome to be? This is part of business planning. If I'm going to host an event, let's say it's a client appreciation event. If I'm going to host that, what is my goal? My goal for that type of event would just be to celebrate and love on my people. But if I'm hosting a bourbon tasting, maybe my goal is to make 3 new connections. Maybe my goal is to connect 3 people to each other. Maybe my goal is to have some intimate time with somebody who I know is going to be an incredible referral partner for me in the future, because they're a connector. They are a town mayor. They know everybody. I want to earn their business. You've got to ask yourself, what is my goal for this strategy? What do I want the outcome to be? I've been on my soapbox, and I'm really sorry. Let me see this chat, what it says here. I agree with you, open houses. I'm sorry, Walt, what?
I was just saying, I'm trying to keep up with the chat pretty well, so you can keep running.
Oh, thank you. I agree with you. In rural areas, maybe open houses isn't the best strategy, right? But I want you to address, where do you live, right? Who is your target client, and what strategies are going to be the best ones for me to get in front of them based on who I serve, right? Every strategy is not going to work for you based on where you live, right? Based on who your target client is. Health and wellness, self-care education is what I peddle. Okay. Those people then care about certain things. You know what is important to those people. So if your whole sphere is made up of people that are in self-care and health and wellness, maybe you have a self-care day, some type of big expo, health and wellness expo kind of thing. Position yourself, if you're already in that space, utilize that for your event, right? Marry those people. Hi, Bonnie. Bonnie says, I need friends and I'm a people person. Bonnie, one of the things that I learned after my kids grew up and moved out of the house is that it's really hard to make friends as an adult. When you have children, you have connectors, you have like people that are in your life because you guys are in the same season. As an adult, it's a little hard. We have to be vulnerable, right? We have to ask people to be our friend, which is not how friendships typically happen in your younger years. But your people, and it takes a little courage to step outside of your comfort zone and to be vulnerable and say, hey, my name's Bonnie and I'm looking for friends, right? Like at a certain age, you've got to be proactive in saying, what kind of people do I want in my life? Who do I want to hang out with and spend time with? And how can I make friends like that? And trust me, moving my business 4 states, I didn't have any friends every time I moved somewhere, so it's not easy, but with intention, you can make plenty of friends that are going to become your new circle or become, and remember, your friends change over seasons of your life, right? Not everybody that we've had friendship with for 25 years stays in our life for 25 years. They come in and out, or sometimes they leave when it's time for them to leave. I love it. Felicia said, I was buying fresh shrimp yesterday and gave the guy one of my cards. He said, perfect. I'll be selling my house soon. Downsizing. I'll be in touch. So Felicia is actually one of my coaching clients, and she and I are going to be working. One of the things I want to remind you guys with this statement too, be careful about passive versus active lead generation. Okay. Passive lead generation means I'm going to hand my card out to you, and I'm probably going to die or collect Social Security before you call me. Okay. Active prospecting means that I'm going to thank him for, oh my gosh, I'm so happy to hear you're going to be selling your house. That is my specialty. That's what I specialize in, is helping sellers sell their house. Do you mind if I send you right now some information about my business, right? And Felicia has a one sheet. So what we're going to train her to do is that when she meets somebody, instead of giving them just her card, she's going to give them her one sheet, and she's already giving it to them in the moment. So she's going to have their email or their phone number so that she has a way to follow up. What I want you guys to capitalize is when you see an opportunity for you to fill your pipeline with some name, which is going to be a future opportunity for you, you have to have the ability to follow up with them, which means you have to either get their contact information or you have to track it down. And I would rather them give it to you willingly, right? But I want you to be careful and make sure that the things that you're engaging in are active, not passive, right? Passive is good. It makes you do a cartwheel. Hey, I put myself out there and I actually got someone to say that they're interested. That's fantastic. But I want you to take it one step further and make sure you have a way to follow up with the person, okay? Thank you for sharing that. All right. Thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate that feedback as well. All right. Identifying skills to develop. This is the part where your confidence is going to come from your competence. Okay. So for some of you that are new or newer, you're drinking from a fire hose right now. You're still trying to learn the industry. You're still trying to figure out how things operate and what works and what doesn't work. But I can guarantee you that the more prepared you are to do your job, the more confident you're going to show up at the appointment. So when I go on a listing appointment, I make it my job to know everything there is to know about what has happened in that neighborhood in the last 60 days. I know about Bob and Mary across the street that sold their house for sale by owner and what they sold it for. I know that this person over here sold to an investor and they tanked the whole sales price for the whole neighborhood, right? The price per square foot. I know that this house has been on the market 4 times and has been overpriced and the seller refuses to reduce the price. I do not want to show up for the appointment and the seller knowing more about the market than I do, right? So that is part of my confidence. And so I will ask you, what skills do you need in order to accomplish the things that you want to do this year, right? So if some of your strategies are Very specific to reach your target client, I will say, what skills do you have to pull that off? Do you need to be better at interpreting the data? Do you need to be better at pricing houses if you're going after listings? Do you have to be careful and better about budgeting so that you have money to market listings? I have some agents in my circle that told me they don't want any listings because they're tired of spending money. Well, y'all, every dollar you're spending is tax deductible. I don't understand. Some of us need those deductions, but y'all are afraid to spend any money. But then you wonder why your house isn't selling because you won't market it. But I'm going to get off that soapbox real fast. I'm just saying, what skills do you need to support your goals? And this is, where do you feel like you need to grow? Where do you feel like the confidence can replace the anxiety? And remember, your confidence will come from the competence. So if you're new or newer, do you know how to use the MLS like the back of your hand? Do you know how to run reports in the MLS? Do you know how to find the data that you're looking for? Do you know how to do searches that are real unique? And if you don't, every one of your MLSs has classes that you can sign up for, right? If pricing houses is still a struggle for you, find a mentor that's going to help teach you how to do CMAs and get good at doing it. Practice doing a CMA, pulling a listing every week or pulling an address and running numbers, sharpening your skills, and then taking that CMA and bouncing it off of a mentor to say, hey, can you just check behind me to see where I am so that you get better? That feedback is going to make you better every time you do it. Running CMAs is one of the hardest things that I think we do because most agents are not skilled and trained on how to do it properly. It requires skill set that comes from a lot of experience, right? We're not given a book that says how much value do I give stainless steel appliances versus, tile floors, or hardwood versus laminate. We don't have like a number that we assign to that. That comes from experience over time. We know what buyers pay for those types of upgrades. But when you're new or newer to this business, you don't know some of that stuff. And that becomes hard to price houses. This is a skill that if you are going to be representing sellers, you have to work on. You have to practice. You have to refine. You have to be intentional about sharpening the skill that is going to make you better positioned to be hired. You're going to hire me because you believe I'm the best person to market and sell your house, not based on the price that I tell you it's worth. You and I will arrive at a price together. That is a line that you all need to memorize, right? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I don't want you to hire me based on the price I tell you your house is worth. I want you to hire me because you believe I'm the best person to market and sell your house. You and I will arrive at a price together. That is very important positioning, because if you go on a listing appointment with 5 agents and 4 of them give a different price, you want to have a fighting chance because of your marketing skills, because of your strategies, your plan, your systems and processes, right? You want to be considered as the go-to person that they should hire. You don't want to lose the listing because someone walked in behind you and said it was worth $5,000 more, right? You want to position yourself as the best person to market and sell the house. Common mistakes that agents make with business planning, and we're bringing her home now, is avoiding the numbers because you're not proud of them, right? Avoiding the numbers because you just don't know how to analyze the data for awareness instead of judgment. A lot of people look at their numbers and that's the first thing they do is beat themselves up. These numbers are not a reflection of what I'm capable of. These numbers are not a reflection of how good I am at this business. And for most agents, I'm going to tell you the very hard truth is that the numbers are not a direct correlation to how hard they're working. Sometimes it is. Sometimes those numbers are 100% a reflection of how hard you didn't work. Sometimes you guys are working so hard, but you're not getting anywhere. And you're not getting anywhere because you don't have clarity. You are trying to be everyone to everything, and your message is not heard by anybody. You are chasing too many lead sources. You are not intentionally choosing how business is going to come to you or how you're going to go get that business. You are not intentionally choosing who you want to work with. You're not setting standards for your business that allow you to choose who gets the benefit of your time, energy, and money. If someone raises their hand and says, I want to buy a house, you are running down the street, leaving your family at dinner without asking qualifying questions, without determining, is this person for me? You're just running because you need money. And desperation is not where CEOs make good business decisions. So I want you to be more intentional about choosing what is getting the benefit of my time, what am I pouring my energy into, and what is getting the benefit of my money. Because I have limited resources. I'm not a bazillionaire. Otherwise, I'd be wherever Walter is in the background there with a cocktail in my hand. Okay. I also think the biggest mistake is planning growth without considering capacity. And this is about designing your business around your life. And this is about not giving your family the crumbs. And this is the thing about spinning your wheels in 100 directions with no output, with no guaranteed consistency, without guaranteed results. You're just spinning your wheels in 1,000 directions. You're going to burn out, and your family's going to get the crumbs, and you are going to be frustrated, and you're going to want to leave this industry. You're going to want to quit. You're going to want to go back and get a job that has a regular paycheck every 2 weeks, because that seems so much easier. But one thing I will tell you, and Walt and I will say, the best decision we ever made was betting on ourselves and then doing the work that shows us what we're capable of. Because only you are capable of generating as much money as you want to make. You have all the tools and resources available to you. You have all the skill set that God has given you inside of you to make you who you are. You've got in this business for a reason, probably to help and serve people and aligned with things that you like. You have been given everything. You have all the tools that you could possibly need in this business to be successful. What you need to decide is what lane is yours, what people are you trying to serve, who gets the benefit of your time, energy, and money, and your attention, and how are you going to show up for your clients? And then do the work that requires those people to then become clients. Make sense? All right. I want you to choose your top 3 lead sources that you are going to focus on. I don't need you to have 50. I don't need you to have, there are lots of people that will say, I need you to have 12 different streams of income, and I need you to have 14 different strategies. No, I want you to pick 1, 2, or 3. Even if you picked one strategy and ran with that one strategy, that is intentional focus, that is clarity, and the results you're going to get out of hyper focusing on that one strategy are going to be better than you trying 20 or 30 different things. So pick 1 to 3. Pick 1 or 2 lead sources that are intentional. Share one clarity decision in the Agent Alliance Facebook group. I would love for you guys to interact with each other and say, hey, this is what I thought, this is what I'm going to focus on this year. And when you say it out loud, when you share it with others, it becomes real. When I told people that I'm publishing my book this year, it became real. I've got people cheering me on. I've got people supporting me. I've got people asking me for chapters, right? That's pressure, but here's what it also is. It is accountability that's going to help me get it done. It's people that are waiting for the results that I'm telling you that I'm out here working for. And when you share with your circle who you serve and how you do it differently, you are then creating an army of cheerleaders that are out in the world looking for opportunities for you, to tee you up for those opportunities. But we have got to get good at explaining what we do and who we serve, and make sure everyone in our circle knows that. And it cannot just be, hey, call Robert, he's a realtor. That's not going to work. It's, hey, Robert specializes in seniors transitioning. He's really good at what he does, and he has a great network of people that help support him. Do you see how that referral sounds way different than Robert's a realtor? Arm people with the information that you want people to know about your business. Arm people with the information about who you serve and how you do it differently, what your special sauce is, and create an army of people out there looking for opportunities for you. I know when we come back together next week, and I hope you do come back next week for part 3, we're going to dive into some of the holistic stuff, some of the part that affects your life, some of the things that we're going to get down a little bit more granular about how this business plan is going to work. We're going to actually talk about specific strategies next week and throw some gasoline on some of those and the how to, not just, hey, go do some open houses. Okay. So thank you for having me today. I hope this was really helpful to you. Walt, thank you for letting me be here. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. You're a wealth of knowledge. I've dropped the workbook link in the chat multiple times. Hopefully you've all downloaded that. It's a treasure trove of resources that it's absolutely free. Just hit the link and put a copy on your computer. It is the full inclusive roadmap on how you build all of this out. We would have to spend a weekend on Zoom
This was
live nonstop with no bathroom breaks to cover everything in one shot. It's just not possible. So
this was written
the
as a
workbook is critical,
4 hour workshop.
right?
Yeah,
You
it's
really want the
written at a
workbook.
4 to 5 hour workshop. So this is we're just breaking it down into smaller pieces for
Absolutely.
you guys to
And then
absorb.
the other thing, right? Some people don't like to hear it, but I'm a realist. If you sit in on these Zoom calls and you hear us talk about how, and then you never go execute on it, you're not going to get anywhere. You are going to have to put in some work. So as you grab that workbook and as you digest everything, take some time to start filling it out and putting your plan together, right? We can give knowledge, we can give tools, we can give resources. What we cannot do is execute someone else's business, right? That's the piece that you have to bring together for yourself. So just be mindful of that.
Okay. Love that. Great advice. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you next week. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for investing in you and your business.
Guys, have a great day. Enjoy your rest of your week. Go make some money.